Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today's podcast, English Listening Practice Podcast, topic name is Storytelling Techniques in English. I'm really excited about today's topic. We're diving into something, fundamental, isn't it? Storytelling. I mean, think about it. Whether you're writing a novel, crafting a short story, maybe a movie script, or even just, sharing a funny anecdote with a friend. The way we tell stories. It shapes how people see the world, how they see us. So this deep dive is really for anyone who wants to get better at that. Writers, speakers, maybe just dreamers who want their stories to stick, to really resonate. We're going to unpack the techniques that make a story not just good, but truly unforgettable, actually impactful.
It's so true. Storytelling, it's really more than just entertainment, isn't it? It's basic to how we make sense of everything, of life itself. Go back to the earliest campfires, passing down wisdom, warnings, history, right up to today. With all the digital media, stories have always been the main way we share what's important, inspire action, build empathy. It's not just a skill. It's like, it's wired into us, a core human thing.
And doing it in English, what an opportunity. It's such a rich language, isn't it? So much nuance, rhythm, this huge vocabulary. It really is a playground for creativity. A well-told story in English, it can make you laugh out loud, bring you to tears, or even, spur you into action. But okay, let's unpack this. How do you actually do that? How do you go from just an idea or a sequence of events to crafting something powerful, something that lasts? What are the building blocks?
It's definitely a journey, but a really rewarding one. And that's exactly what we're getting into today. We'll break down the key techniques, and importantly, we'll use lots of examples, not just saying what they are, but really showing how they work. This isn't about abstract theory. It's about discovering the tools, the tricks, the magic, if you like, of great storytelling. The goal is to give you practical things you can use to make your own stories better, whether you write them down or tell them out loud.
Okay, so where do we start? Maybe with something that seems obvious, but it's everything, really. The absolute foundation. Knowing your audience, it's not just a nice to have, it's the bedrock of connection. Before you write a single word or even plan what you're going to say, you have to ask, who is this for? Who am I talking to? Because that answer, it shapes everything else. The tone, the words you choose, the themes, the examples, even how long the story should be.
And that's why it's just so critical. Tailoring your story means it hits home. It resonates. Otherwise, you might completely miss the mark. Think about telling a story to young kids. It needs simplicity, right? A sense of wonder, clear lessons, but not preachy ones. It has to be approachable, imaginative, grab their attention. Lots of repetition maybe, bright images. But for adults, you can explore complexity, grit, moral gray areas. You can use richer language, more layers, subtler meanings. Knowing who you're talking to lets you dial everything in just right, so it lands emotionally and intellectually. It's about meeting them where they are, acknowledging their experience, how they think and feel.
That's such an important difference. Let's make it practical. For kids, like you said, simple sentences, vivid imagery, clear morals woven in gently, no heavy stuff. Imagine Pip the hedgehog, not a normal hedgehog, right? His spines are rainbow colored, they glow like a disco ball. He lives in a giggling forest, gets told by the great oak to find the starflower to light up the woods. So he goes on this little quest, dodging grumpy toads, singing with fireflies, finds the flower, makes the forest shine, and the point. He learns his unique colors or his magic self-acceptance, see? Yeah. Playful tone, simple words, bright pictures, clear moral, but it's part of the fun.
Right. Now flip that for an adult audience. You can go deeper, maybe darker, more introspective. The language can be richer, the story structure more complex, the takeaways less obvious, more open to interpretation. Let's take Philip. He's an accountant, day job, gray cubicle, spreadsheets, soul-crushing stuff. But at night, he dreams of impossible colors. Then a note appears, seek the starflower in the woods. It holds your truth. He's skeptical but unhappy, right? So he goes. The woods are messy, shadows whisper doubts, roots trip him up. It's not whimsical, it's a bit unsettling. He finds a flower, yeah, but it's not overtly magical, it just glows faintly. But its beauty reminds him of the art he gave up for a stable life. So he quits his job, buys a canvas, the realization. Truth isn't a destination, it's a dare. It's something you embrace. See the difference. Introspective tone, subtext, that existential yearning. The language is more evocative, the moral is way more nuanced, something to think about.
Wow, yeah, that's quite a contrast. The same core idea, find the starflower, but spun completely differently. What does that tell us about just how powerful audience awareness is. It's not just changing a few words, is it? It's rethinking the whole experience.
Absolutely. It shows how the core message transforms when you adjust the depth, the language, the challenges. It really is about meeting the listener where they are, considering their life experience, their understanding. For teens, you might blend action with identity stuff, maybe use a bit of current slang carefully. Got to sound authentic, not like you're trying too hard. And for a mixed audience, you aim for that balance. Vivid images everyone can grasp, but anchored in universal themes: love, courage, justice, things we all connect with. And like you said, this isn't just for fiction. Think about a presentation, an email, even just telling a story at dinner. Knowing your audience makes your message land significantly more impactful.
That's a great point about applying it everywhere. Okay, moving on then. Let's talk about the power of a strong opening. Hooking your reader. That first line, that first moment, it's like shaking hands. It sets the tone instantly, grabs attention. It has to. There's so much competing for our attention these days, right? Your opening is your chance to cut through the noise.
This raises a really important question. Why is that hook so vital in English storytelling? It's more than just getting noticed, isn't it? It's about making a kind of pact with the listener, pulling them into the world you're creating right from the get-go. A great opening isn't just a start. It makes you ask questions, sparks curiosity, or throws you right into the middle of the action. It signals something important is happening now.
Exactly. Like walking into a theater, you want to be drawn in immediately, not handed a history lesson first. So how do different kinds of openings do that? How do they achieve that instant immersion? Well, you could start with a question, something intriguing. What do you do when the sky starts falling and your only shelter is a whisper? It makes you lean in and write, what's going on? Or jump straight into action. Leela sprinted through the burning marketplace, the stolen map clutched desperately to her chest, her boots kicking up embers with every desperate stride. Bam! Stakes are high, you're right there. An image can be powerful too. The ancient lake lay still as obsidian, a perfect mirror reflecting a bloated moon that bled an eerie, unsettling red. Sets a mood instantly, often ominous, and dialogue, of course. If you leave now, you'll forever wonder what truly lurks within that forgotten box, she whispered, her voice barely a breath. Creates mystery, makes you need to know more.
And applying these, it's about precision, really. Start with one strong image, one key moment, and please avoid the info dump. Those huge paragraphs explaining everything up front. Kills the momentum, don't do it. Use active verbs, sensory details, what can they see, hear, feel, smell, and subtly hint at the core conflict or theme. Like, take that Leela example again, but maybe refine it. Leela's worn leather boots sank into the fine ash that blanketed the plaza as she fled the inferno of the burning market. The stolen map pressed against her chest like a frantic second heartbeat. Behind her, the guttural shouts of the Queen's elite guards mingled with the ravenous crackle of consuming flames, a terrifying symphony of pursuit. See? Action, mystery. The map, hints of character, warm boots, high stakes, guards, flames. It pulls you straight in. And this applies beyond stories. A presentation starting with a striking visual. A tough conversation starting with a clear, empathetic statement. Same principle. Hook 'em.
That's a perfect example. Okay, next big area. Building relatable characters. The true heart of your story. Characters. They really are the soul, aren't they? We don't just follow plots, we connect with people. We root for them, feel with them. And English gives us so many ways to make them feel real, their dialogue, their inner thoughts, their actions, reactions.
It is so fundamental because the characters that stick with us, they're usually flawed, complex, they have clear wants, needs, often conflicting ones. When characters feel real, with imperfections, unique perspectives, relatable goals, the story's tension becomes personal. We feel invested. Their struggles become our struggles, in a way. It's empathy in action. That's why some characters live on in our minds long after the story's over.
So yeah, it's not just about what characters do. It's about who they are, fundamentally. And we can build that depth. One key way. Show, don't tell. Everyone says it, but it's crucial. Instead of saying she was brave, show her facing danger, maybe trembling, but doing it anyway. Second, reveal backstory gradually, little bits here and there, no long, boring flashbacks if you can help it, let it unfold. Third, distinct voices. A grumpy old fisherman shouldn't sound like a cheerful teenager. Their word choice, rhythm, everything should be unique. And finally, give them flaws and desires, quirks, fears, goals, especially goals that clash, creating that juicy conflict.
Right, and connecting this back. Relatable characters are like mirrors or windows. They let us see ourselves or see into other lives. We experience their challenges, their wins, as if they were our own. It deepens our understanding of, being human. Let's look at an example. A short story, The Last Bus. Imagine Mira, slumped in a bus station chair, plastic seat, flickering fluorescent lights. Her backpack's heavy, just like her mood. The sign says, Last Bus, 11:59 p.m. Her phone shows 11:58. She's running. From her mom's expectations, her ex's apologies, the small town that feels like a cage. This bus to a city she's never seen is her escape plan, her one shot. Then an old man sits next to her, smells like rain and regret. His voice is rough like gravel. "Missed it last week," he rasps, then looks at her. "You're running from something too, little lady." Miri just shrugs, pulls her hoodie tighter. "Just need a new start," she mutters. He chuckles, a dry sound. "Ain't no such thing, child. You carry yourself wherever you go." The bus arrives, doors his open. Mira stands up, heart pounding. Is he right? Could she really start over? The tension? Will she go? Will it work? Feels personal because we see Mira's actions, slouching, hoodie, hear her clipped dialogue, reveals her restlessness, her desperation. And the old man, even briefly, he adds depth. He mirrors her, challenges her idea of escape without hijacking the story. It's subtle. Actions and brief dialogue revealing character, not long descriptions.
That really highlights the subtlety, doesn't it? Showing, not telling, through those small details. Okay, let's shift focus to the world itself. Crafting vivid settings, painting with words, the setting, it's never just wallpaper, it's active. It shapes the mood, influences choices, raises the stakes. And with English, using sensory details, metaphors, precise words, you can make any place feel real. A gritty city, a cozy village. You can put the listener there.
Exactly. The goal is immersion, making the listener feel like they're breathing the air, standing beside the characters. How do we do that? Several ways. First, sensory details are key. What do they see, hear, smell, touch, maybe even taste? Engage all the senses you can. Second, match the mood. A stormy cliff feels dangerous. A sunny meadow feels hopeful. The setting should amplify the story's emotional tone. Third, cultural nuances. Little details that ground the setting in a specific time or place, making it feel authentic, lived in. And finally, maybe most importantly, show the setting through the character's perspective. How do they see it? How does their mood color what they notice? Tied to their feelings, their goals.
It's amazing how a place can feel so real, so tangible, without needing pages of description. So what's the secret? Making it sing without drowning the listener in details. Let's try a sci-fi setting. Neon Spire. The city sprawls like a circuit board under a sky choked with silent authority drones. Ezra ducks into an alley. The air smells like burnt wiring and desperation. Neon signs buzz in languages he can't read, painting his jacket electric blue, hot pink. The pavement vibrates faintly, maybe underground maglev trains for the elites. His boots crunch on shattered glass from last week's riots. He clutches a data chip. In Neon Spire, information is currency. He's either a successful thief or he's dead.
What's great there is the precision. Specific nouns like maglev trains, authority drones instantly build that world. Much better than vague terms. And the sensory details pull you in the smell, the buzzing signs, the vibration, the crunch of glass. And crucially, it's all filtered through Ezra's experience. The city isn't just a place, it's a threat, tied directly to the stakes. It feels dangerous because he feels the danger. The key takeaway: be specific. Avoid overloading with adjectives. One strong, vivid detail often beats 3 weak ones. Create an impression, don't just list things.
Precision. Got it. All right, let's unpack this. A good story isn't just stuff happening, it needs a skeleton, right? A plot structure. That framework is what keeps people hooked, turning the page, wanting to know what's next. In English storytelling, we often talk about classic structures like the 3-act model or the hero's journey. You can bend them, sure, but they provide a powerful foundation. It's about balancing the action, the emotion, the surprises. So how does this skeleton help both the storyteller and the listener?
While thinking about the whole experience, that structure creates a really satisfying journey. For the storyteller, it's a roadmap. Helps build tension effectively, ensures characters grow believably, makes the ending feel earned, not just tacked on. For the listener, it provides a sense of order, progression. Even if the path is twisty, you feel like it's going somewhere meaningful. The basic structure, though simple, is powerful. Act 1, the beginning. Introduce characters, setting, hint at the main conflict, get things rolling. Act 2, the middle. This is usually the longest part. Stakes escalate. Characters face challenges, make tough choices. Things get complicated. Act 3, the end. The conflict reaches its peak and gets resolved. And crucially, we see how the characters have changed because of everything they went through.
Let's use an example. The Lighthouse Keeper. Act 1. The Call. Elias. Alone in his lighthouse for 30 years, just him, the sea, the gulls. Then one night, huge storm. A ship's distress signal flashes through the fog. He hesitates, oil is low, rocks are deadly. But the signal pulses again. Urgent. He sighs, lights the lamp anyway. That's the inciting incident. His solitary life is interrupted. He has to act. Act 2, the struggle. The storm gets worse, batters the lighthouse. Elias climbs the stairs, knee screaming, determined to keep the lamp lit. The ship is dangerously close to the rocks below. He remembers the last ship he failed to save, the screams. haunted by it. He adjusts the wick, rations the oil, whispers, "Not tonight," into the wind. Hour after hour, dawn breaks, the ship is safe, the lamp finally dies, he collapses. That's the rising action, the core conflict. His past failure fuels his present struggle.
Exactly. And then Act 3, the resolution. The townspeople cheer him as a hero, but he just waves them off. Prefers his quiet. He repairs a lighthouse, orders more oil, goes back to his logbook. The sea is calm now, but he knows it'll rage again. He feels a quiet pride, though. Writes something like, "Some lights you keep burning, even when no one sees, because tending them changes you." He smiles. Feels less alone. That structure works, builds tension with the storm, deepens Elias through his guilt and determination, ends with that earned sense of growth, self-acceptance. You know, even everyday stories we tell often follow this unconsciously. Setup, rising action, resolution. It just feels right. So to use it well, start with a clear, inciting incident, raise the stakes in the middle, and make sure the ending shows real character transformation. Makes the journey worthwhile.
That's a beautiful example of structure giving shape and meaning. Okay, let's talk about how characters actually sound. Dialogue. Giving characters a voice. Dialogue in English stories does two big things, right? It reveals who the characters are deep down, and it pushes the plot forward. Good dialogue sounds natural, effortless, but it's usually anything but. Every line should have a purpose. Show personality, create conflict, drop clues.
And what's really interesting here is that dialogue isn't just the word spoken. It's a window into their minds, their relationships, their motives. So what's the biggest trap people fall into with dialogue? And how do we avoid it? Probably making it sound too much like exposition, like characters are just explaining things to the audience instead of talking to each other. To avoid that, focus on a few things. 1, keep it real but tight. Mimic real speech patterns, hesitations, rhythms, but cut the boring filler. Be concise. 2, use subtext. People often say one thing and mean another. That adds layers, realism. 3, distinct voices. A world-weary detective shouldn't sound like an optimistic teenager. Word choice, sentence structure, slang. Make them unique. And 4, make it purposeful. Every line should reveal something or move the story along. No wasted words.
It really is like listening to a real conversation, where what's not said is sometimes as important as what is said. How do these techniques create that sense of realism and emotional punch? Let's imagine a tense scene. Siblings, Nora and Sam, trapped in a bunker after something bad happened, arguing about leaving. Nora's pacing, flashlight beam jumping around. "We can't stay here, Sam," she says, voice tight. "Water's almost gone. We'll starve." Sam's leaning against the wall, sharpening a knife. Calm, maybe too calm. "And wandering out there is safer," he counters. "Those safe zone rumors, traps, Nora, you know it." Nora's voice breaks. "You'd rather die here, like Mom did."
Sam stops sharpening. "A flipper of paint. Don't," he warns. "I'm not waiting, I'm going." Nora grabs her pack. Sam says something sharp. "Then you're as dumb as Dad was." But then his eyes soften just a little. "Wait till dawn," he mutters. "We'll go together."
See, the dialogue shows their conflict, hints at their past trauma, parents, reveals their personalities, Nora's urgency, Sam's guarded pragmatism. And the subtext, his harsh words contrast with that flicker of care, the decision to go together. It shows their bond underneath the fear. And notice the actions, Nora pacing, Sam sharpening the knife, his eyes softening. Those breaks in dialogue tell us just as much as the words. A great tip is always to read your dialogue out loud. You'll immediately hear if it sounds clunky or unnatural.
That's brilliant advice. Okay, now for what many call the cardinal rule of writing. Show, don't tell. The golden rule. It's probably the most repeated advice, but it's fundamental. Instead of stating facts or emotions, you use actions, dialogue, sensory details to paint the picture. Let the listener figure it out.
Okay, let's unpack this. It's fundamental, yes, but also tricky to master consistently. Why is showing so much more powerful than just telling? Because it makes the story immersive. It pulls the listener in, makes them an active participant in figuring things out, and allows them to draw their own conclusions, which creates a much deeper, more personal connection. It feels more real.
Right. Let's compare. Telling. Sarah was nervous about her speech. Okay, we get it. Showing. Sarah's hands trembled as she gripped the podium, her note card slipping onto the floor. Now we feel her nervousness right alongside her. Or telling. The room was messy. Simple. Showing. Dirty socks draped over the couch, pizza boxes teetered on the toffee table, and a faint whiff of stale coffee hung in the air. We see it, maybe even smell it. We understand something about the person who lives there.
This really comes down to trusting your audience. When you show, you invite them to connect the dots, to engage their own imagination and empathy. It makes the experience stick. Imagine Jaden entering an abandoned warehouse. We don't say Jaden was scared or the warehouse was creepy. Instead, we show. His flashlight cuts through the dark, dust motes dance like ghosts. Floorboards groan under his sneakers. He sees an old piano, keys yellowed like teeth. A rat skitters across the lid. He flinches. A pipe drips somewhere, steady like a heartbeat, and his own pulse races to match it. The scene shows the fear, the creepiness through concrete sensory details. The listener puts it together, feels the atmosphere. A practical tip: look for places you've used vague adjectives, sad, happy, angry, and try replacing them with specific actions or sensory details that show that emotion. Trust the listener.
That's such a powerful way to think about it, trusting the listener. Okay, next up, pacing. Controlling the story's rhythm. Pacing. It's basically the speed of the story, right? How fast or slow it feels, the flow.
What's fascinating here is how sentence structure itself directly impacts how the listener perceives time and emotion. It's subtle, but really potent. Pacing controls the emotional journey. You want fast pacing for action scenes, maybe slow pacing for moments of reflection or suspense, and varying the pace is crucial. Keeps things interesting, avoids monotony. If everything is breakneck speed or everything is slow and ponderous, the listener tunes out.
It's like conducting an orchestra, isn't it? Speeding up, slowing down to match the mood. So how can a storyteller consciously use pacing for different effects? Well, for fast pacing, short sentences, active verbs, maybe even cliffhangers at the end of scenes or chapters to keep things moving. Creates urgency. For slow pacing, longer sentences, more description, maybe dipping into a character's inner thoughts and feelings. Give the listener time to absorb, to feel. And the key really is balance. Mixing fast and slow sections keeps the listener engaged, makes the highs feel higher and the lows feel lower.
Let's look at two contrasting examples with a character, Maya. Fast pacing, action scene. The explosion shook the street. Glass shattered. Maya dove behind a car, her pulse hammering. Footsteps pounded closer. She gripped her knife, breath shallow. A shadow loomed. Now or never, she lunged. Short, punchy sentences. Active verbs. Relentless forward motion mimics the adrenaline rush. Now, slow pacing, reflective scene. Maya sat on the rooftop, the city's lights sprawling below like a sea of stars. Her knife rested beside her, still stained with yesterday's fight. She wondered if her sister, lost in the chaos 3 years ago, ever looked at the same sky. The wind carried a faint chill, whispering memories she couldn't quite grasp. Longer sentences here. More introspection, sensory details. Lights, stained knife, chill wind. Creates space for grief, contemplation. So you can consciously use short sentences for tension, longer ones for reflection, and ending scenes with a question or a twist. Great way to keep people hooked while varying that rhythm. Match the pace to the emotional arc.
That contrast really makes the effect clear. Okay, this next one is where a story goes from just entertaining to something deeper, something that stays with you. Themes and symbolism, adding depth. A truly great story usually says something about life, right? Themes like love, loss, courage, betrayal give it meaning. And symbols, objects, colors, recurring images can reinforce those ideas subtly.
And connecting this to why stories resonate. Themes and symbols tap into universal human experiences. That's what gives them a timeless quality. But the key word is subtly. You want them to enrich the story, add layers, not beat the listener over the head with a message. It shouldn't feel like a lecture. Common themes might be, say, the search for identity, maybe symbolized by a broken mirror, or freedom, symbolized by a bird flying from a cage, or betrayal, maybe a dropped wedding ring. These symbols work because they carry emotional weight.
So how do you weave these deeper meanings in without being too obvious or preachy? How do you let the listener discover them? Let's take the red scarf. A story about Clara, a young refugee. She wears her mother's frayed red scarf constantly. It's the last thing her mother gave her before everything changed. The scarf is faded, worn, but she clutches it. In the camp, another kid offers her bread for it. It's just cloth, he says, but Clara refuses. To her, it's not just cloth, it's her mother's laugh, her songs, her promise to meet again. She holds on to it, like a flag of hope, the story says. The scarf isn't just mentioned once, it appears at key moments. It physically represents her connection to her mother, her past, and her resilience. The theme of holding on to hope emerges through the symbol, naturally.
That's a perfect example. To apply this first, choose a theme that means something to you, something you genuinely want to explore. Then, find a symbol that connects organically to that theme, like the scarf representing memory and hope. And then weave it into key moments. Don't force it into every scene. Let the theme emerge through the character's actions, choices, their journey. Allow the listener the satisfaction of connecting the dots themselves. It's much more powerful that way.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about the engine that drives almost every story forward. Conflict, the engine of engagement. Conflict is that struggle, right? Internal within a character's own mind, or external against other people, society, nature. It's what keeps us hooked, wondering what will happen.
And this brings up a vital question. How do storytellers create conflicts that feel genuinely important? Ones that have real weight.
It comes down to tying the conflict to significant personal consequences for the character. What do they stand to lose? What are they fighting for? And layering conflicts adds so much depth, makes the story richer, more complex, more engaging. We usually talk about a few main types: character versus character, hero versus villain, rivals; character versus self, internal struggles, doubt, fear, moral dilemmas; character versus society, fighting against unfair rules or expectations; and character versus nature, survival stories, battling storms or beasts. Often stories combine these.
So, for building a really gripping story, it's not just about what happens, but the obstacles characters face and how those obstacles challenge them on different levels, inside and out. Let's look at Kale the thief again. He needs to steal a gem from a guarded temple to save his sister. Okay, that's external conflict. Him versus the guards, the temple security, character versus character society. We see him hiding, guards patrolling, his hands shaking, immediate danger, but there's more. He's haunted by guilt from a past betrayal. He swore never again, but now he has to break that vow to save his sister. That's internal conflict, character versus self, his own principles versus his love for his sister. The stakes his sister's life make both conflicts incredibly urgent and personal. We care because he cares so much and he's torn.
Exactly. To use this well, identify your main conflict. Then add another layer, maybe an internal struggle that complicates the external one, or vice versa. Always raise the stakes by linking the conflicts to things the character deeply cares about. Make it personal. That's what hooks the audience emotionally. And remember, when the conflict is resolved, it needs to feel earned. The character has to struggle, sacrifice, change. No easy outs. That's what provides a satisfying conclusion.
Earned, not given. Good point. Okay, this next element is where a story really finds its unique flavor, its personality, voice, and tone, setting the story's soul. Voice. That's kind of how the story sounds, right? Its personality, its attitude. Tone is more the mood it creates: eerie, hopeful, funny, tense.
And what's really fascinating here is how voice is so tied to perspective. It's not just what's being said, but who is saying it and how they see the world. Their filter. Voice and tone together define the story's identity, its emotional feel. They shape how the listener experiences everything. They're like the story's unique fingerprint.
So how do you find or develop that unique voice? It takes practice, right? Experimenting. Think about the difference. A sarcastic voice, humorous tone might give you. Great, another dragon, because my day wasn't bad enough. Instantly tells you about the character. A poetic voice, melancholy tone. The stars wept for her, their light dimming as she walked away. Creates a completely different feeling. Or a direct voice, tense tone. He had 10 seconds, the bomb ticked, he ran. Short, sharp, urgent. Each voice creates a distinct world.
Let's explore that with a first-person example. Riley, a reluctant hero, snarky voice.
Ooh.
So I'm supposed to save the world. Me, Riley, the kid who can't even save his algebra grade. The prophecy says, I'm chosen, but the only thing I've chosen lately is pepperoni over sausage. Now I'm stuck with a rusty sword, a talking cat who hates me, and a demon army knocking. Awesome. Riley's voice is relatable, funny, it sets a light tone even with high stakes. The first person makes it feel intimate, like he's confiding in you. To use this effectively, pick a voice that fits your story's content and theme. Match the tone to the mood you want to create. Use word choice, sentence structure, rhythm consistently to reflect that narrator's personality. Though the voice can also subtly shift as the character grows or changes, which adds another layer.
That really shows how voice creates connection. Okay, now for the moment it all builds to climaxes and resolutions sticking the landing. The climax, that's the peak, right? Maximum tension. Everything hangs in the balance. The resolution, that's tying things up, showing the aftermath, the change.
And thinking about satisfaction. A strong climax should feel like it was always coming, yet still surprise you somehow. It's that peak emotional moment and the resolution. You should provide closure, but not necessarily be perfectly neat. Real life isn't always neat. It's about showing growth, consequences, realism, leaving the listener with something to think about and echo.
So how do you build that peak experience, that almost unbearable tension? Let's take Detective Lena again. It's like climax. Lena kicks the warehouse door open, rain pouring in. The killer she's hunted for months is there, sneering. Victim tied up. Lena's gun is shaking. She's exhausted, haunted by past failures. One shot ends it, but his eyes, they look almost human. Is he a monster or just broken? The victim whimpers. Lena makes the choice. Fires. High tension, moral dilemma, decisive action, resolution, killer's down, victim safe. But Lena, driving home, city lights blurring through tears. She stopped him, yes, but the faces of those she couldn't save haunt her. She parks, lights a cigarette, whispers to herself, keep going. Tomorrow, another case. She's changed.
That works because the climax is the combination of her struggle, internal and external, and the resolution shows the victory, yes, but also the cost. It's realistic, emotionally resonant, not just case closed, happy ending. To do this well, build towards the climax relentlessly. Make sure the resolution reflects the story's themes and the character's transformation. And crucially, avoid the deus ex machina, that sudden, convenient solution that comes out of nowhere. It feels cheap. Let the resolution feel earned. Sometimes leaving a few questions unanswered adds to the realism and makes it more thought-provoking.
Okay, let's unpack this. The often overlooked but absolutely vital stage, editing and polishing, making your story shine, the first draft. It's just the raw material, isn't it? Like a lump of clay. Editing is where you shape it, refine it, turn it into art, make it clear, smooth, impactful.
What's fascinating here is how editing often transforms telling into showing. You find those vague phrases and replace them with sharp, specific details. It's about precision. Editing turns a good idea into something truly compelling, immersive. It's where you elevate the craft. It's about trusting the reader, using powerful language effectively.
So what's the biggest benefit of taking that time to really polish? It's the difference between someone just reading words and someone feeling the story, right? Some key tips for editing. 1, cut the fluff, be ruthless. Get rid of unnecessary words, phrases. Very tired becomes exhausted. Tighter is usually better. 2, vary sentences. Mix short and long for rhythm. Avoid sounding monotonous. 3, check consistency. Do characters sound like themselves throughout? Do plot details line up? No contradictions. 4, read it aloud. Seriously, this is huge. You catch awkward phrasing, pacing issues, repetition you didn't notice when reading silently.
Let's see a quick before and after. Before, the man was very scared, and he ran really fast through the dark forest that was creepy. He was thinking about how he didn't want to die. Okay, functional. After, terror gripped Daniel as he sprinted through the shadowed forest, branches clawing his face. Death wasn't an option, not tonight. Much tighter, more vivid, more immersive. Shows the fear instead of just stating it. To make editing work, try letting the draft sit for a bit. Come back with fresh eyes. Focus on one thing per pass, maybe structure first, then dialogue, then word choice, and get feedback. Ask trusted readers. They'll spot things you missed. Polish until every word feels necessary.
Fresh eyes and feedback crucial. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Breaking the mold. Experimenting with structure. Breaking the rules. Once you know the rules, you can start bending them, right? Traditional structures are great, but English storytelling also allows for playing with form. Non-linear stories, stories told through letters or emails, multiple viewpoints.
And this raises the question, when is breaking the rules actually a good idea? It's justified when the form itself helps tell the story better. When it enhances the theme or mirrors the character's journey, making it more impactful, not just confusing. Experimental structures can make a story stand out, serve the narrative in unique ways, maybe mimic how memory works or show different sides of the truth.
So what's the key to making it work? Not just being weird for the sake of it. It has to serve the story's purpose, right? Let's take that nonlinear story, Pieces of Us. It jumps in time, starts now. Finding her letter in the attic. If you're reading this, I'm gone. Hand shape. Jumps to 10 years ago, laughing together by a bonfire. Happy memory. Jumps to yesterday. Hospital room whispered, don't forget me. Painful recent memory. Jumps to 5 years ago. A bitter fight. Regret. Back to now. Reading the end of the letter. I loved you even when it hurt. He's alone, piecing together their broken past. The fragmented structure isn't random. It mirrors his fragmented memory, his guilt, making the emotional impact much stronger.
Exactly. So think about using nonlinear timelines if they reflect a character's trauma or confusion. Try epistolary formats, letters, emails for intimacy, or alternating narrators for different perspectives on the same events. The golden rule is, form follows function. The experimental structure should deepen the story's meaning or emotional power, not just be a gimmick.
Form follows function. Love that. Okay, one last crucial point, especially today. Cultural sensitivity. Telling inclusive stories. English is global. Your stories can reach people everywhere. So it's vital to be mindful of cultural nuances, avoid harmful stereotypes, and strive for authentic, respectful representation.
And connecting this to the bigger picture, culturally sensitive storytelling builds bridges. It fosters empathy, breaks down barriers. It's about giving diverse characters full, rich lives in your stories, not just making them token appearances or relying on lazy caricatures. Doing the research into cultures, histories, perspectives is essential for telling stories that feel true and respectful.
So how do we make sure our stories connect across cultures thoughtfully? Let's imagine Aisha, a young artist, in a bustling market. She adjusts her hijab, sketching the scene. The air buzzes with Urdu and Punjabi. Vendors haggle over mangoes, spices. A boy bumps into her, asks, tourist. Aisha laughs, born here, just like you. She shows him her sketch of the market's energy. He looks surprised, then nods. You see us, he says simply. The scene uses specific details. He draws languages, market goods to celebrate her culture without stereotyping. The interaction feels real, warm, and the boy's line, "You see us," highlights that universal need for recognition and respect.
That's a beautiful example. To apply this, research carefully. Avoid tokenism, give diverse characters meaningful roles and full arcs. And if you can, seek feedback from sensitivity readers from the culture you're writing about. Their insights are invaluable. Ultimately, it's about reflecting universal human experiences. Love, loss, hope, struggle within specific cultural contexts, making your stories resonate widely and respectfully.
We have covered so much ground today. A real deep dive into, 15 storytelling techniques? From knowing your audience right at the start, all the way through crafting characters, settings, plot, dialogue, and finally, editing and polishing, even breaking the rules thoughtfully. We've seen how each piece contributes to building a compelling narrative. Storytelling really is a craft, isn't it? Something you can learn, practice, master. It's that bridge between your imagination and your audience.
It absolutely is. And it's an invitation, really, to play with language, experiment with form, and most of all, tell the stories that truly matter to you. Because when a story comes from a place of authenticity, when it matters to you, it has this incredible power to matter to someone else too, to connect.
So as we wrap up, maybe think about this. What story will you tell today? What idea is buzzing inside you, waiting to find its voice? Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into storytelling techniques. If you enjoyed this exploration, please remember to like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel for more deep dives into fascinating topics.